Hello everybody. This video is just more of the same. You can call it venting or exposing or whatever, but I was just really just, thinking back on my life, and even though I'm 60, I'm still thinking back of when I was 14, 15, 16, 17, later. But I have just so many questions that that will never be answered. And so when I was 17 years old, my dad had previously remarried a woman 11 years older than me. She got unexpectedly pregnant. Well, I don't know what unexpectedly means, because if you're not using, you know the story. Like, how can you just up and get pregnant? Like, oops, no. And, condoms, they don't break, so I don't even believe that shit. I don't even know what, how, when, where, why. I don't even know how it happened, but I was told it was an accident. But she chose not to abort. So when I was 17 years old, my half-brother was born. And he was very superfluous. At about the same time, my dad was looking at new cars for himself. And he bought, I've actually stated this on another video. So he bought himself a brand new Mazda RX-7. And it was like a bronze gold color. I'll never forget that car. That car and that baby took the place of my college education. And I'll never have answers like why I was not taken care of. And even though my dad did not save money per se for my future, our educations, he did have money or spend money on the new baby and the new car payment. But there were other cruel situations of my dad. And I remember as a kid, anywhere from like 6, 7, 8, around those years, he would like torture me by tickling me and like causing me to cry. I don't know that I've heard that before from other people, but it was very uncomfortable, and I would like beg him to stop. He would tickle mostly my inner thigh, or I guess my my arm, or even my stomach. It was very uncomfortable. And I still can recollect that sensation and the way I felt. And to make things worse, when he was basically dying and he was like in a hospital situation, and I was videotaping him. This was some 14 years ago, I believe. So I was videotaping him, and my biological brother was present. And he said, "Diane," he said, "you were my favorite." He said, "I had 3 kids, and I always wanted sons, but you were my favorite." So being the favorite got me no privilege, got me no standing, got me nothing. his inheritance went to my half-brother. And if anybody is from a divorced family, you can probably relate, because the first family, the first children, get kicked to the curb and thrown under the bus. If any of you parents are watching this and you want to remarry, or you want to have more children, even if it's children from the same father, same parents, you are cheating your first children. Anytime you bring more children into the equation, you are cheating the first ones. It's extremely cruel to take away resources from the first children, or the firstborn, and just add more to the equation. It's heartless. You will not have unlimited resources. Those kids will always need money. People are living longer these days. I just don't understand the greed, insensitivity, and selfishness of parents that want more children when the first ones aren't taken care of. I just don't understand. I don't understand why people are having babies now in the middle of pandemics and huge supply shortages, and you know, we're trillions of dollars in debt, and climate change is growing. Argentina is having the worst heat wave it's ever had. Always hearing about Australia having heat waves also. It doesn't do any good to add more people to this environment. There's people that are in need and hurting now. Why add more to the equation? Why add more people who are going to get sick, feel hunger, need adequate jobs, and will have a need for medical, dental, and eye care for the rest of their lives? Why aren't people more responsible sexually? I keep hearing of men like getting remarried and, having kids. All for what? Just so they can, have a quick orgasm and feel good for that moment? Is that worth bringing people into the equation and cheating the first children that they had by another partner? It's insane. Why don't you take good care of the ones that you have? It's impossible for people to take good care of multiple children. It just doesn't happen. And the children always take care of each other. You're just spreading your resources thin. It's just like, if you're going to make yourself, breakfast, and you're pouring that pancake batter on the skillet, wouldn't you rather have a nice, fat, plump pancake than one that's like spread really thin because you just, you ran out of batter? It's so hurtful to children when you just keep having children and you don't take care of the first ones. I mean, unless you're really, really rich or loaded with resources, or unless, you have a large trust fund set aside for your children, you've just cheated them. You've cheated the first ones. It's just so selfish. I mean, logically and mentally, and nobody with common sense could, have kids when they already have some that are needy and need clothing, shelter, vehicle, tuition costs, medication, whatever. So if you're watching this and you only had one child, I do commend you for stopping at one, because that was a huge asset to your potential future children. Having multiple children is so wrong and so hurtful. And I'll never have answers to why I wasn't cared for. This is another follow-up to the, being cheated by my parents videos. I'm going to tell you something I've never told anybody before, but so me and my brother shared this very, very minimal apartment, if you will. It was actually a loft. There was no separate rooms. It was just basically big enough for like a twin bed on each side upstairs. Very, extremely minimal. And it's about all we could afford. And although my mom never visited us, and we were less than an hour away from where she lived during our college time. So, and I will repeat that. My mom never visited me and my brother's little apartment loft the entire time. And yes, she had a car. She had a Cadillac. And a good job. She was like an office manager and an accountant, something like that. But my dad visited me and my brother one day, one evening. And would you believe, my dad had asked me if I had friends that had marijuana. And I did. And I wasn't really, I didn't like smoking, and my dad was like a chain cigarette smoker. But he had the nerve to ask me to call my friends and, ask for a joint or some weed. It just blows me away. My dad did not offer a dime to my college. And he knew we lived in, very minimal situation. We didn't have anything to our name, really. And how could he just be so selfish and throw us to the curb and not have any empathy towards our dilemma? And we both never flunked a class. We passed everything from grade school to high school. We're doing okay in college, but struggling. And he wanted a joint. I'll never have answers to these questions. And even an answer like, I'm positive he was just narcissistic and selfish. I mean, even an answer doesn't recover the damage that he's done. And the weird tickling, which was abusive. And he wouldn't stop. And, I was little and, he was big. I mean, he was kind of like a larger kind of man, like muscular, hairy, muscular, that kind of guy. He was not fat. He was very healthy and, masculine looking. So anyway, it just really bothered me today, and I was just recounting the past and thought I would share this because I know there's people out there that hear my stories and they relate to them and they're not alone. And if any of you parents are out there on the fence about having more children, there's no purpose in having children. No purpose in having any children. It is just pure selfishness. You can always foster a child, and you can actually be paid for fostering. It does pay you, to help feed and clothe those children. It's so much more altruistic to foster a child and give them something, give an orphan something, than to bring more children with your own DNA into this world. Rehome existing children. Rehome existing pets. I mean, even at, 60, I mean, this kind of shit bothers me because I was cheated. Both my mom and my dad cheated me just extremely. But it really hurts knowing that my dad had a third child with a woman 11 years older than me. She had no respect for me. I'll tell you what she told me when I was 16. She came into my room, and my dad did not know that she said this to me. But she told me, she says, Diane, she says, I need you to start paying us rent. And she said, you better get your act in gear. And she said, you're going to have to work the rest of your life. And she says, you're not going to be able to get by on your cuteness. She says, you are not going to be attractive for very long. Well, she was wrong. To this day, people tell me I'm beautiful and pretty and youthful and cute. But those words that she told me when I was young were just absolutely cruel. And stabbed me in the gut. It was so senseless and purposeless. I wonder if she would tell her own son, James, this kind of such a horrible thing. I wonder if she would want payment for her son to go to rent or a mortgage. I think not. So he inherited pretty much everything because she took over my dad's and my grandmother's estate. So I'm guessing that, he's a recipient of the family money. The first children got stung, and stung bad. In my opinion, we were more deserving. We had the longest history. We were cheated the most. And no matter what life affords me as an adult, it's my childhood that dictates the cruelty and the isolation and the disrespect. And, it set the tone for adulthood. Your early years just can't be forgotten. People growing up with, abusive, neglectful, whether it's, physically, mentally, or sexually abusive, you never outgrow that. In fact, it's more memorable as a child and going through, bad things. I just remember, when my parents were getting divorced, there was a thought of, having to leave my school and leave my friends. And, my dad actually got custody, which is a good thing because it would have added so much extra trauma to my life. I just can't imagine leaving the school that I really, really liked in my area and the house, only to live with my mom just because she wanted custody. I mean, I told her later, I said, I probably would have, gotten into drugs or gotten pregnant if you had custody of us. It's just a mess. Just a cruel mess when parents get divorced and they don't focus on their children, their first children. They go on to live other lives. Dad eventually got divorced from that second wife. My mom was married at least 3, maybe 4 times. But of course, she didn't have any more kids. She didn't want any more kids. I mean, she was the one to bear kids, so she didn't want them. Good thing. Well, she couldn't. She had a physical, she had an operation. She couldn't, have any kids. My dad had given her the HPV virus, and she had a hysterectomy, but it's another bad thing. Yeah, my dad was a piece of shit. Mom was a piece of shit. For leaving us with these feelings, and for leaving us with this, the heartache and the loss. There's no point in it. It was so preventable. So my dad ended up having 3 kids. He can't say that, those were unpreventable. Maybe the first one was less preventable, but you can't have multiple children and claim that they were accidents. I just hope that I reach parents, and I hope that they hear my story and just stop reproducing and quit having more kids, especially if you're a man, because you can have kids much longer in life. You're just hurting your first children. Go out and have a vasectomy. Don't let a second wife or a third wife change your mind about things. Look up the word antinatalism. Go on the Facebook group, I Regret Having Children. Go to a children's hospital. Just walk in the foyer. or the public areas and see how much harm there is in this world. Go to a cemetery. Look at all the dead people. Read the obituaries. Read the daily news. Turn on your TV. And even branch out beyond your own country and city and county. Look at third worlds. Look at how many people suffer. Look at how many children have nothing. They don't have shoes on their feet. They don't have toys. They don't have warmth. They don't have air conditioning. They don't have medical treatment. They don't have love. They don't have parents. Look at all the orphans in China, Brazil. There's so much need in the world. Nobody should be selfish and vindictive enough to create more children and add to the many wants and needs already in existence. I'm thoroughly disgusted that, my dad went on to have another child, and the damage and harm that he left behind. It's insurmountable. It's unconscionable. It's very sad. And, so I wanted to recount and expose this because it really helps me to unload. And I hope that I reach people who were in my situation and who felt worthless as a child or a teenager or a young adult because of what their parents did and how they cheated them. And so, if there's somebody, that can apply their life circumstances to mine and me to theirs, and if we can, just kind of bond out of the abuses that we shared, that comforts me to know that, there's others out there who feel exactly the same way as you do. It's just a lifelong battle. You may be 16, you may be 25, you may be 30, but I'm here to tell you it's a lifelong battle, and it never gets easier because your parents eventually die, and you have no answers, and you have nothing. You have nothing from them because they will not account. They won't own the damage that they've done to you. And damage is done by reproduction. But in cases of abuse, your parents won't own that. There's so much lack of accountability with all parents, especially those who are abusive. So anyway, as usual, please like, share, and subscribe, and comment. Thank you for watching.